The team of cooler people than the Bengals.
No, it's crazy. Because is there a less cool city than Cincinnati?
Except for Eli Apple.
Chris Hansen here, and I'm going to need you all to take a seat right over there and check out Birds versus Boys.
I think you're completely right here, and I hate it.
Yep. Hey, idiots. Stop doing dumb things.
I got 2 phones.
Upside alert. I might go insane.
I think you're already there. There's no hope. Hope is gone.
If this was an AFC North podcast, we'd be done in 15 minutes.
Bob Hope.
I'm going to drink bleach. That is
the team you promised me you were going to be this year.
This is the Consciously Hopeful podcast.
I'll be watching.
We are here, ladies and gentlemen. It's episode 101 of Birds vs. Boys. We made it through divisional weekend without either the Cowboys or the Eagles participating, but that was probably a benefit to us because we got to just enjoy one of, if not the best weekend of the NFL all time, kind of stress-free, if you want to say that a little bit, right, Aidan? I mean, I was in awe all weekend. But hello, before we get into that, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. Yes, I am recovering nicely from like you said, it was a stress-free weekend. It was like having a bye week, but at the end of the season, and then you also have 72 bye weeks after this.
Yeah. Yes, we do. And I'm starting to I usually start it when the playoffs start. I'm like, oh my God, there's only 12 games left. Oh my God, there's only 7 games left. Now I'm like, oh my God, there's only 3 games left. I'm starting to get in. I don't count the Pro Bowl. That would be 4. I'm starting to already get depressed. It's like when you're on vacation and you're on vacation for like 10 days and at day like 5, you start counting down. You're like, oh my God, I only have 4 days and 3 nights left.
Yeah.
Oh and you start thinking about going home before, and you're not enjoying the vacation anymore. You're just thinking about the depression of going home and then going back to work.
And you're like, wait, how did I do 6 days of vacation already? I feel like I just got here.
Yeah, that's the NFL season. How did we do 18 weeks and 2 weeks of playoffs already?
Yeah, how did we get here to near the end so quickly? Now we're just going to think about the end for 3 weeks.
Yep.
Instead of enjoying it.
At least for us, and I know for you people out there, we're draft monsters. We love the draft. We love the draft process. Ooh. So as soon as the season is over, I'm actually already starting to get into draft mode. The draft show started this week on Tuesday. First episode dropped. So I love it, right? It's the best. Starting to already get names. So, but let's talk a little bit. What was your favorite game of the weekend? If you can pick one.
Well, it was 49ers Packers just because I thought that was funny. Just the entire sequence. I'm also just like so attached to the 49ers now that I'm just rooting for them. They're my team. Like I said, they're my team who's not my team that's going to be my team. So them winning was my favorite. I was with a guy on Saturday, our friend's new boyfriend, and he went to South Carolina and he was like, yeah, used to party with Deebo. Here's his phone number. And I was like, can we FaceTime him after the game if they win?
Right, please.
He was like, no. And I was like, well, it's worth a shot.
Why not?
So yeah, I'm like totally in on them. What was yours? There's probably an obvious answer, and I'm just dumb.
Yeah, well, the Bills Chiefs, I think, was the greatest game ever. Just seeing that win probability, and then all of a sudden do this is just unbelievable. It was funny too because I was downstairs in our family room. My wife was upstairs, and the TV was like slightly ahead. And I heard her be like, "Oh my God!" And I was like, "What's gonna happen?" And then it was just like,
yeah, that is how it goes. I was at a restaurant, and the cooking staff. This was during the Rams-Bucks game, and the cooking staff was one play ahead, so you could just hear them remark. I'm like, either the Rams scored or the Bucks scored.
Now where are my wings?
Yeah, and also no wonder the food's taking so long.
That's awesome. I mean, that game was phenomenal too. I was like, Brady is doing it again.
I heard it was like the perfect analogy that I heard. I have plenty of my own analogies tonight, but I'll give people credit where it is. It's like how Achilles used to lead people into battle and he'd be at the front lines because people just assumed he couldn't die before the Achilles heel thing. And that's like Brady, where he just like, there's no belief that he'll actually die. So people will just follow him into battle. There's no, everybody was like, this is happening. Like even in the third quarter when they were down by 24, everyone's like, this is Tom Brady. Like we know what's about to happen.
When Cam Akers fumbled going into the end zone at the end of the first half, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. And we were at a bar with like people who either bet the Rams or like the Rams. And you can just feel them just tense up. Like the heads go down and they tense up and they know what's coming. It's like being on the coast for a hurricane and just like knowing it's coming to land and there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to sit and watch this thing come over the coast. That's a Tom Brady comeback.
And it was funny too, because like the way they started to come back, I could hear the conspiracy theorists in my head already being like, it's rigged. NFL's rigged because it was fumbles, right? And then all of a sudden the snap over Stafford's head that goes 35 yards that never happens. It's like, oh, how did that happen?
Yeah.
Just, but at the same time, it's like, okay, but yeah, like what if it was rigged and then Cooper Kupp dropped that pass? Like that's not that you can't just make that happen.
I know. It's just you can't believe the rig stuff. It's just too difficult to rig something like that. But I do love when those conspiracy theories pop up, and it's like, no, maybe this is just like it's just a mindset, the human psychology behind those comebacks, behind having Tom Brady on the field, and just everything involved with those pressure situations is so fascinating. And then obviously the talent is fascinating as well. Just you mentioned how it could have been the greatest weekend of football. I think it is. I think the way the game of football is developing, athletes and especially quarterbacks are playing at a level that we've just never seen before. And even a decade ago feels almost archaic in the way people run offenses and the way people throw footballs and just athletes in general. Kids are fucking doing windmills now, dunking in high school. Like it used to be like two kids on an AAU team could dunk. You're like, oh my God, they're amazing. That team has two kids who can dunk. Now it's every other point guard's doing 360s.
As a Cowboys fan who witnessed one of our superstars, CeeDee Lamb, have one catch deep into the third quarter and having another superstar and Tony Pollard have only 6 touches in a game. Watching teams actually let their superstars get the ball and do things is so refreshing.
Right there with you, Devontae Smith not having a target until at the end of the half. Yeah. Well, that's part of the reason why these teams are here. They've kind of like figured out the whole logic behind the football as well.
Like when I love Malik Turner, and I've been calling for Malik Turner all season when guys were hurt. But at one point in a playoff game, and when it's the third quarter, and Malik Turner has a catch and CeeDee Lamb does not, we have a problem. Again, same year, we targeted Jalen Reagor before we targeted Devontae Smith. It's like sometimes things just aren't that hard. You know, it was hard apparently this weekend throwing the football for Ryan Tannehill. First play of the game, interception, and I think his last play of the game, I think, was also an interception.
I am finally vindicated. It finally makes sense. For 18 weeks, I've been saying the Titans aren't good. I can't figure out what it is. Like they keep winning. I can't get this out of my head that they are a bad team. And then they just laid an egg at home. Week 1 or game 1 at home, 1 seed, lost, done. And the defense had 9 sacks and they started.
9 times. Is that too old for you?
I know the reference.
9 times.
What's it from?
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
9 times.
I was going to say, I've definitely seen that movie a few times. 9 times.
I know the Niners are like your team right now, but like the Bengals are America's team right now, right?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yeah. I mean, I do also appreciate the Bengals. It would be great for I don't want to say a little city, but like Cincinnati winning, Milwaukee had one. Just I don't know. I just feel like that would be cool and something different and refreshing and just a new hero archetype when Joe Burrow coming along to beat Patrick Mahomes and his family.
They literally don't have an indoor practice facility. Pat McAfee talks about this all the time.
Yeah, under overpass. Yeah, like there's schools in Texas that play high school football who have better facilities.
It's unbelievable. And yes, please, I love Patrick Mahomes. I love watching the Chiefs play. Like you said, it's another level. It makes football 6 years ago look archaic the way they do things, and Tyreek Hill and Pringle and Mecole Hardman, and they have so many riches, it's unbelievable. And watching Patrick Mahomes do Patrick Mahomes things is incredible. But I want them to lose solely because of his wife and his brother. Like I can't deal with them anymore.
It's remarkable, isn't it? It's very hard these days to be a likable athlete because people naturally hate you when you're winning. Mm-hmm. Even the nicest guys in the world get hated on when they're winners. And Mahomes seems to be that outlier where people still like him. And now he's falling victim to the hate, despite being almost bulletproof for so long, just because of the annoyances his family causes.
And I love that she's like, I just wish I could go a week with doing whatever I want without getting criticized. It's like, well, don't be fucking annoying.
Yeah, then don't be annoying, and then you'll be fine. You know,
it's not that hard.
As I said, this doesn't seem like a very hard concept.
If you want to spray people with the champagne, spray the people in your booth that you're partying with. Why do you have to spray the peasants below you?
Yeah, I know. It was just, it did kind of feel like I'm the queen among the peasants. Yes. Here you go, court jesters. Yeah, so that's annoying, and you're right. So I think a lot of people are rooting for the Bengals. We'll get back to the Chiefs-Bills. I want to talk about that game and just how it relays to our teams after watching that quality of football on Sunday, and then kind of how that relates to how our teams play football. But before we do have an interview tonight. We were rocking and rolling early. But we have Ryan Dunleavy, who covers the NFL for the New York Post. We got him at a good time because the Giants have hired a GM. Looks like they're going to hire a coach this week, and a lot of talk about the quarterback as well. So he obviously covers them in New York, but we have a great conversation about the entirety of the NFL and just how this week of football is going to affect the game of football from probably here on out and how teams view roster construction. So great interview with him, with Ryan, coming up. Sorry, we buried that a little bit, but we were excited and ready to go. And you can't blame us because this was truly the greatest weekend of football.
It really was. And going back to your point about our teams compared to my wife was in bed. Like I said, she was watching the game upstairs. I was watching downstairs. I came upstairs. My wife's an Eagles fan. If this is your first time tuning in, I'm a Cowboys fan. Hence the two banners if you're watching on YouTube.
The first 100.
And I literally said to her, I go, our teams don't play the same sport as those two teams. And she goes, I know.
That's exactly how I felt too.
And she texted me too. She goes, these teams don't commit penalties. The Eagles would have like 18 fucking penalties right now. She goes, the Eagles fucking suck. Like through a text message. I'm like, yep, yes, both.
And what's crazy is we're ahead of teams. We're ahead of a lot of teams, and we're still not playing the same sport as these guys.
The speed, everything.
Yeah. So I have two questions stemming for that, but the analogy I thought of is just like you said, like we're not playing the same game. So you ever like do an activity yourself and you do it one way and you're like, you're all right. Like you get it. And then you watch somebody do it another way and you're like, oh, that's how you're supposed to do it. So for me, it's like Call of Duty. Like I'm not that good at Call of Duty. I like to play, but I'll be like, oh, here I come. I got my gun. I'm going to shoot you. And then like I watch somebody else play and they're like quick scoping all over the map. And like they have a chopper gunner kill streak within 2 minutes. I'm like, and then you see me like, oh, just threw my tomahawk. I'm going to come get you.
You're like, I have no idea.
That's the Eagles and the Cowboys. And then that's like watching the Chiefs and the Bills play.
Yes. Like I said, the speed, the discipline, just the Chiefs went 44 yards in 13 seconds to tie the game with a field goal. The Cowboys had 14 seconds and they couldn't run a play. Now, I know for all of you people that are yelling at me, they had timeouts. The Cowboys didn't. I know it's a funny reference. Shut up. But it's true.
But it is true. It wasn't like, but go back before that. Those two teams scored 25 points. In 2 minutes, could our teams do that?
No,
probably not.
No.
So
why didn't they squib kick it though? You have to squib kick it there. That takes 3 to 4 seconds off. That's one play.
Or put it in the air, but make sure you got to tell them, put that thing up in the air, but don't let it come down in the end zone. Make them have a return.
Yep.
Especially because they didn't put Tyreek Hill back there. So you're right. You got to put that one in play. and just hope they don't return it for a touchdown because, you play the odds game.
Mm-hmm.
There's better chance that Mahomes is getting them, even if it's crazy as it sounds, with 13 seconds.
And it's interesting because middle of the season, right? Cowboys go on a 6-game win streak. They go to New England, they win. Beginning of the season, offense is high fly, and then the defense comes together. Defense is looking good. They never really looked at a point where they put it all together, except for maybe against Washington, against you and me, basically. All their COVID replacements out there. But the narrative around the team was, if they play their best ball, they can play with anyone. But then I watched that Bills-Chiefs game, and I'm like, could they really play with anyone?
So that was the first question that I was going to ask you. Do you now view roster construction differently?
Yes.
Especially with your team after watching these teams this weekend and realizing just the talent at different positions and the speed and athleticism at different positions.
Yeah, it's off the charts. And play calling and coaching. I mean, we saw a lot of mistakes by coaches overall this weekend. I think Vrabel made a lot of mistakes. Like I said, the Bills coach, I don't know why he's escaping my mind right now. McDermott, the issue with not the swib kick. So there was LaFleur made some mistakes. And that's obviously the big thing about McCarthy and the Cowboys, always making time management mistakes. But we saw a lot of that. So it does come down to the players on the field. And it just, talent on talent, they don't match up.
Yeah. So like that makes you think like not a blow it up situation for the Cowboys, but like how do you take that next step where you've already
Sean Payton. Sorry.
I think we'll get there. But all right, Sean Payton was the coach of the Saints. They were not even close.
Yeah. Well, it's because they didn't have a quarterback. At least the Cowboys have a quarterback that I think could compete.
So that was the other question that I was going to ask you. And this is really for the Eagles fans, but I'll ask it to you. There is the point, and I saw Ben Solak had a great tweet. He was like, this is like a one play proof that just draft an alien quarterback and figure it all out later. And it was like the one Josh Allen touchdown where he had Dawson Knox streaking across the middle, but instead it was just like, screw it, I'm going deep to Gabriel Davis, took the top off, gunned it 60 yards. So how do you feel? Get your franchise quarterback, give up any asset to make it happen, keep trying until you do and figure out the rest later, or continue to structurally build your team and just be like, get me as many good players as possible.
I think if it's you as an Eagles fan right now, you go and you keep trying to find that quarterback. I think the Cowboys are obviously in the position where they can't do that right now. They have too much invested in the quarterback. So I don't even think that's an option for the next couple of years.
He's just got to be that guy.
He has to be. He's not that guy, right? He's not Josh Allen. He's not Patrick Mahomes. I was watching that game and I continuously saw things that Mahomes did and Allen did. And I was like, yep, Dak can't do that. And then I was like, saw something else. I'm like, yep, Dak can't do that. And then I'd see, Allen literally running and hurtling over people. And I'm like, yep, Dak can't do that anymore. Dak now runs like he has 2 left feet. He is like this guy stumbling down. Where Allen is a tank who can also jump over you and is fast.
Oh yeah, he's just like the kid in high school who he comes back for the Thanksgiving Day turkey game and he was always bigger than everybody else. And they're like, well, now I'm not even wearing pads, so I really don't want to get in his way now.
That happened to me playing lacrosse. I was after I was out of college and we were playing in a winter league, and I was like 24 probably. And some of the kids I coached, one kid, Garrett Thule, was playing at West Point, leading the entire country in goals. And he was like 6'6", like 220. And we were like and I was like, he like backed up to go one-on-one, and I was playing defense, and I was like, nope. And I was like, Olay.
That's just not even a business decision. That's just a life decision.
Yeah, have fun.
Yeah, exactly. So I get it from your point. Like Dak just needs to be the guy. The Eagles probably need to find the guy. Mm-hmm. If I could go back in time, that meme where it's like girls' time machine versus guys' time machine.
Yeah.
If I was in the guys' time machine, I would go back and just be like, Jalen, please don't play like a jackass against the Buccaneers. Like, please play well, so we don't have to like doubt this all off season.
Mm-hmm. Do you think quarterback is a legitimate option in this draft if one falls, like a Pickett?
No.
If
it were anybody, it'd be Pickett.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else who you just say like, yeah? But even them, they have to learn. They have to grow. Like you just didn't hit, man. Like
There's not an alien in this draft.
Yeah, I was about to say you just didn't get it didn't fall. Like you spun the wheel and you didn't hit the grand prize.
Yep.
And it's a crapshoot sometimes in terms of how you're going to get it and when you get it. Like with the Chargers getting Justin Herbert at 5, like a lot of things had to fall right for that to happen. Washington not taking him not coming out the year before, all of it. Like it's a crapshoot to get one of these guys. And like even Josh Allen, like you didn't know.
Yep.
But
no, everybody said out of Wyoming, like has he done that much? You know.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And there could be Kenny Pickett could turn into that guy.
He could, but even his measurables, like Josh Allen is a 6'5", like throws it 70 yards, and that just wasn't Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, no.
He's good. Like I think he'd be a very likable character, and I think I think he'd be a good NFL quarterback. But then I think we'd be right back here in 2 years being like, all right, well, it's Herbert and Burrow and Mahomes and Allen, and all of these teams went 12-4 this year, and we are 12-5, and we went 9-8. How do we take this next step? And just doing this again. But also, devil's advocate, Green Bay game, San Francisco, they clearly have a franchise quarterback who's pretty good at slinging the rock, and Aaron Rodgers. They lose at home. They score on their opening drive. They score 3 points after that. They get the ball back with 4 minutes left. After the block punt, they do not score. They lose to a team in the 49ers who couldn't be less sold on their quarterback.
Yeah.
And even now, sitting in the NFC Championship, might not have him back on the team next year. So maybe you just build a really great team around the quarterback and figure out the quarterback, hopefully, like the 49ers have. Yep. It's a great debate.
It is. And I think it also depends on your coaching staff as well. Like Shanahan's on a different level. McVay's on a different level of play calling.
Yeah. And you saw that this week. They're both very good.
And doing it in different ways too, where like McVay is kind of did it like the Sean Payton way, where he gambled the whole future away. They don't have a draft pick for like 7 years.
Well,
but that's the point where he's just going to leave and go somewhere else and do it again.
I was about to say, I guess you can gamble the whole future away if you're just going to, like, if you're it's just like a company goes out of business and you're just like, all right, well, it's out of business. I resigned. Yeah. I took my stock options.
Bye.
They're going under. See ya.
And he'll go somewhere else and he'll just do the same thing.
I wonder
if he
where
gets
he's
one
go.
Super Bowl ring somewhere else, some other team will be like, yep.
Then it was worth it. It's crazy. That's another storyline that gets overlooked is just like, should you go all in? When you had like Matthew Stafford, how long do the Rams really have him? He's a franchise quarterback. Wouldn't put him in that alien category with Mahomes and Patrick and Josh Allen. But yeah, very, very good quarterback. And you went all in because you had the quarterback at the time. So that's another thing to consider.
Jared Goff made $33 million this year.
Who is?
Jared Goff.
That is wild. Insane. But
Bill Belichick made $20 million this year, and Jared Goff made $33 million.
It's wild, those coach first player structures. Insane. But for the Eagles, my official position, I think even if you got a franchise quarterback, you're still way too far away. I think there's just too many holes. I'd like to build a really good team.
Yep.
And especially like Russell Wilson, when he won his Super Bowl, was when his defense was the best and had multiple Hall of Famers around him. 4 Hall of Famers on one defense.
Like that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Like Tom Brady is awesome, but they were missing a lot of pieces on Sunday and ended up losing to a really good team. Like I'm still of the belief you have to build a solid competitor. It can't just be like, oh, you have a franchise quarterback and then 52 other crappy pieces.
You know how this just popped in my head, how Russell Wilson is Mr. Unlimited and he's always working hard. And he seems to be that guy that like, he's like a pitcher that gives up a home run. You just have to go on to the next play, forget it right out of your mind, next play. But like, how does he ever truly get over throwing that interception at the goal line in the Super Bowl? Like you
unlimited.
I don't think he can.
How do you go a day with that? Like a day Like, how does he not lay down at night and be like, motherfucker?
I was listening to this podcast, and the one guy is a Seahawks fan, but it was the other guy talking, and he said, the guy who was a Seahawks fan, he remembered talking to him the night that happened and just being like, no, like, you don't recover from this. It's just like not how it works. Your window always closes way faster than you think, and their window did close like right after that. And it's like, you just don't overcome being in that moment and having that opportunity and honestly just blowing it.
That was one of the most jaw-dropping moments watching football I've ever had in my life. I was just like, what?
I watched it. My one friend's a Seahawks fan. It was back when we were in college, so we were all like the house having a good time.
Oh,
and it just went dead silent. No one knew what to do around him. I just felt paralyzed with fear. I was just like, if I sit here and if I squeeze really tight, he won't notice that I'm still sitting here.
He's like a T-Rex. If I don't move, he can't see me.
Oh, that is the approach that I took.
Oh, that was terrible. That was terrible. See, this is what happens when we flow. We're just like,
yeah. We'll end up back at 2015 talking about that. We'll get back on track because there was obviously a lot of Cowboys coaching news this week. Dan Quinn is interviewed all over creation. Yep. We've got Kellen Moore probably coming back. Mike McCarthy, he's there. We'll see how long. And
what do you
Sean Payton
do here?
What is it that you do here, Mike McCarthy? And Sean Payton is stepping away from the game, not retiring, stepping away, creating a mess, leaving to take some time off, and then starting anew. The old Urban Meyer trick.
So I will put this out there right now. I do not think that Payton will coach the Cowboys in 2022.
You mean this upcoming season?
Yes, this season.
Okay.
I don't think he's going to coach anywhere. I think he will be the Dallas Cowboys head coach in 2023. I think this officially puts McCarthy on the hot seat if he wasn't there already. And I think it's Super Bowl or bust for the Cowboys this season.
They had 14 penalties. They had 14 penalties in a playoff game. His seat should be on fire. He should have third-degree burns on his ass.
So I think they're going to be Super Bowl or bust this year.
They're not going to win the Super Bowl next year.
So I think he's going to get fired. I think if it were completely up to Jerry Jones, he would do it right now. It's so funny that like now we're not being held back by Jerry. We're being held back by Stephen Jones. Like Stephen Jones is talking Jerry out of these things. Because
like the football version of Succession that's showing HBO. It's just somebody else in the family screwing it all up.
100%. Because now Steven's like, well, Jerry, we have Mike here, and Mike does a good job, and we try. We did an extensive search, 2 people last year to find the best coach, and we found him. So we got to give him a shot. I don't know. I think it also depends on the compensation that the Saints would want. If you go after him right now, they're going to ask for a boatload. If you wait a year, he's out of football. Maybe they do Sean Payton like a little solid, and you're not going to have to give up as much. So I'm interested. This is every time the Cowboys have one bad play this upcoming season, there's going to be Sean Payton tweets. Immediately.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Immediately. I will tell you this. If Sean Payton was the head coach this past season, the season doesn't end with a quarterback draw and them running out of time. It just wouldn't happen.
It also probably never even makes it to that point. They'd probably just win the game.
Yeah, because CeeDee Lamb would have the ball. And I love his creativity. I love everything about it. And so I mentioned this to you through a text message today. So you did not hear the 2019 Sean Payton Dallas Cowboys story.
No, but I saw the headline of the tweet, but didn't read the actual article section. So if you have it, I will react live to this. I know it crosses 2 different sports that I like, so I'm very intrigued.
Vince, give me a head nod. Have you heard this or not? What happened? Okay, so Vince has not heard it either. So
Vince,
I'll have both of you.
Listen, there's been a lot going on behind the scenes. We haven't seen Vince for 24 hours.
Yeah, sure.
It was one of the most important days, and we couldn't even find him.
Just disappeared.
He was like those. Remember Milo and Otis when they ran away from home?
Yep.
That was him.
All right. So before we get into our interview with Ryan, which we'll hop in right after this story. So this was originally like a Mike Florio story that he apparently has a book coming out. It's in the book. He's been trying to hide it. But now it's come to the point once Sean Payton stepped down where he's like, we got to get the story out there now. So 2019, if you remember, that was the all Sean through the hands year, I think, against the Saints.
That was 2018.
2018, but 2019 playoffs.
2019 playoffs.
Yep. So Cowboys lost to the Rams. And then the next day, the Saints beat the Eagles.
Yes.
And then the Saints went on to lose to the Rams as well. So season's over. Cowboys lose the Rams. Saints lose the Rams.
Okay.
Awful non-pass interference calls. Jerry Jones ready to fire Jason Garrett. But he wants his guy, Sean Payton. It's the only way he's going to fire Jason Garrett.
All right.
So Jerry picks up the phone, calls the Saints. Sean's ready to move on from the Saints as well. They have negotiations. They've talked about compensation. And a deal is worked out that Sean Payton is going to be released from his contract and traded to the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys were going to fire Jason Garrett, do the search that they had to do the Rooney Rule interviews, and then contact the Saints, hire Sean Payton, trade for him. He becomes the Cowboys head coach. He then signs a contract extension. It was done. Signed off on. Everything was happening. Okay?
All right.
Then a week later, if you don't know this already, the ownership of the Saints also own the Pelicans.
Mm-hmm.
Mickey Loomis is the GM of the Saints, and he's also president of basketball operations for the Pelicans. Right?
Yeah.
So, crossover. Anthony Davis, a week later, announces that he wants to leave New Orleans. He was not going to return and demanded a trade.
Yep. Remember that.
Mickey Loomis goes back to the Saints and says, I cannot be the man that have two New Orleans legends leave this city within 2 weeks of each other. I can't be the purpose of that. I'm sorry, Sean. You can't leave. And killed the deal to the Cowboys because Anthony Davis was leaving New Orleans.
Unreal. That's actually awesome.
I blame LeBron James.
I was about to say, this, again, Clutch Sports, the Mafia, that war criminal, Rich Paul, ruined it again. Guess who's in charge of all that with the Lakers? It's Clutch Sports, Anthony Davis, Clutch Sports, LeBron James. They wanted to pair up in LA. It's Rich Paul's fault again.
And Adele.
I hope they break up.
How about that? I would have had fucking Sean Payton coaching my team for the last couple of years if it wasn't for Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Clutch Sports.
Yeah, they are the root of all evil. I've been trying to tell. I've been screaming it from the mountaintops about those guys. But that is fascinating because, like, we talked about human psychology somehow before, and it's now come up twice in the show for two guys who not a lot going on upstairs psychology-wise. And if you're that guy, you don't want to be the yes man who's like, oh, yeah, you're free to go. You're free to go. You're free to go. Anytime you have someone of high stature and just being like, because it gets that feeling, I'm just being walked all over, you know?
Exactly. And they would have killed if both those guys left the city. But yeah, so now the saga will continue. It's going to continue on. It's the new Earl Thomas talk in Cowboys Twitter and Cowboys world. It's that new shiny toy. You know, it's so interesting though. You look at their records, Mike McCarthy and Sean Payton, they're almost identical. One ring each, but they went into such different things, right? So I don't know if you know this too. Sean Payton interviewed with the Packers. He then found out and interviewed with the Saints. The Saints or the Packers informed Payton that they were going in a different direction with Mike McCarthy, and he apparently lost his mind and literally threw his cell phone. So he could have been the head coach of the Packers. And I think if he was the head coach of the Packers, they win more than one Super Bowl. He went to the Saints that was literally ravaged, a forever loser. It took them until they were created in the 60s. They didn't get their first road playoff win till 2000. They were forever losers in Philly.
And when he took over, they were literally ravaged. Their stadium was being used as
exactly.
hurricane refuge center, and that was damaged.
And
yeah,
he
wasn't the best scenario.
He built that up. If he was given the team that McCarthy had, I think they win multiple Super Bowls. But so they're going to be connected forever now, going forward again.
Again, yeah, it's funny how those little everything's got to fall right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like playing a
Or
game
wrong.
of Tetris or wrong. But no, everything has to fall right for you to go your way. Yep. It's really tough and doesn't happen a lot.
It's true. All right, you want to get into this interview? I think we've
Let's
talked a lot.
Ryan Dunleavy of the New York Post writes for the New York Post, covering sports for them. We're going to talk a lot about the NFC East. There's a lot going on with the futures of every team in that division this offseason, including his hometown Giants, but also a lot of ties into the Cowboys and Eagles with that. So here it is, our interview with Ryan Dunleavy.
All right, Aidan, we are now joined by Ryan Dunleavy, who covers the NFL for the New York Post. Kind of focuses on the Giants, but covers all the NFL. I actually, quote unquote, worked with Ryan years ago while he was covering minor league baseball in Somerset. So Ryan, thanks for joining us. How you doing, man?
Anything for a Somerset Patriots alum.
That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear.
Everybody gets their start in minor league baseball. I love it.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Well, we were talking before the show. We kind of got you on a good day. Big day for the Giants since the front office, the brass, talked to the media today. They hired a GM. A coach is on the way soon. John Mara, in the interview process and the media process today, kind of said, ruling out Deshaun Watson, kind of ruled it under the no shit, we won't be making a trade for him kind of area. But what about Russell Wilson? Where do we stand there?
Well, I thought that was interesting, guys, because, look, Joe Schoen and John Mara both ruled out Deshaun Watson, which, if you know anything about the Giants, they were never going to trade for Deshaun Watson with 22 pending civil lawsuits for sexual misconduct. They were never going to take that chance. They didn't draft Micah Parsons because of rumors about him and, stuff in college. Obviously, hell of a football player. They don't go near red flags if they can avoid it. And sometimes they can't avoid it. They drafted DeAndre Baker. He got arrested. They had to cut him. Total waste of a first-round pick. But yes, obviously Deshaun Watson. But in saying why they didn't want Deshaun Watson, both Joe Schoen and John Mara cited the salary cap as one of the two reasons. And to me, that perked up my ears because, okay, well, if you don't want Deshaun Watson because of the salary cap, then how are you going to fit Russell Wilson in your salary cap? And I was the one who asked Joe Schoen today. I said, tell me how much of an issue is this salary cap? Because we did a call with Brandon Bean last week. And we said, Brandon, what did Joe tell you about the job? And he said, not much. I didn't want to pry. But we did talk about how their salary cap is as unhealthy as ours was when we got here. So if the number one thing Joe Schoen is telling his buddy is our salary cap sucks, then how are you going to fit Russell Wilson's contract in? Yes, there are ways, guys, you probably know this, to make this, to wiggle the salary cap. So you get Russell Wilson's contract down to like $3 million salary cap hit this year.
Yep.
But then his salary cap hit in 2025 is like $75 million. Yep. So you're going to just pay for it on the end when the team should be better than what it is right now. So to me, that ruled out Wilson and Watson. And to me, it sounds like they're going to go the old Daniel Jones and a veteran kind of guy, Mitch Trubisky, Marcus Mariota, and use a year to kind of sort it all out. So that's where I think we landed on Watson, Wilson. And it also is interesting, guys, because we know Brian Flores really wants to coach Deshaun Watson. He wanted to in Miami. He wants to wherever he goes next. And try to follow me here. Mara's talked to Flores and is interested. Flores has talked to Mara and is interested. Flores has talked to Watson and is interested. But the Giants aren't interested in Watson. So it's like three parts of a square connect. Yep. The fourth part doesn't connect. So does that make the whole thing crumble or no?
Or maybe you turn it into a triangle.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. That is a giant house of cards. Do you think that's the right move to kind of stay away from these high-priced quarterbacks? And if so, where do you think Wilson's going to go in the offseason instead, if anywhere?
Look, for the Giants, it's the right move. The team is bad, like really, really bad. And they have no offensive line. And, they have one offensive lineman. Left tackle Andrew Thomas is a good player. Center Nick Gates could be a pretty good player, except he, broke his leg in a million places, and we don't know if he's ever going to play football again. So I think they need four new starting offensive linemen.
You can have Connor Williams. You can have Connor Williams.
And they need at least one new edge rusher, probably two, maybe one if it's like, haven't even looked at who's a free agent, but one if it's of the Bud Dupree, Matthew Judon caliber. So if that's the priority, then you're not going to be able to add a high-priced quarterback anyway. So, no, I think for the Giants right now, a team that I really think just needs to build it the right way. Stop. Every time the Giants show a glimmer of hope, they just go out and spend $1 zillion in free agency to try to get over the hump. And that's not the right way to do it. You have to show a little hope, then a little more hope, then a little more hope, like Buffalo just did. So I think as far as trading for these guys, you can't group them together. Should a team trade for Russell Wilson? Yeah, there should be a million teams lining up to trade for Russell Wilson, especially if you're in the AFC and you don't have Watson, Burrow, Mahomes, Allen, or Lamar Jackson. You better trade for Russell Wilson. Pittsburgh better trade for Russell Wilson, or you're totally irrelevant. You have no chance to win in the AFC if you don't have a superstar quarterback. The NFC, anybody could trade for Russell Wilson and feel like, who's the best quarterback in the NFC? If Rodgers and Brady leave. If Rodgers and Brady retires, Rodgers retires or goes to the Broncos, who's the best quarterback in the NFC? Kyler Murray? Like
Stafford.
Matthew Stafford? Russell Wilson could easily go to Washington and they could feel like they could go to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So pretty much anybody but the Giants or Detroit and feel like they could go to the Super Bowl. So to me, you should trade for him if you're most teams. Watson, I would not touch until I had their I would not touch him as any team until I had the resolution. Look, we have arrested guys playing every week in the NFL, guys with horrific charges that have been resolved. So once Watson's are resolved, he'll play somewhere and he'll play at a high level, I imagine. But to me, you trade for him, you got to know what the resolution is before you trade for him. We don't even know really why he didn't play in Houston last year. Did he not play because the team didn't want him to? Did he not play because he didn't want to? And it was really like a holdout situation because he was demanding a trade? Or did we not trade? Did he not play because the league didn't want him to? Like, I want to know if the Texans said, hey, Deshaun, you're the first team quarterback, go out there Sunday. Who would have stopped that? Would the Texans have stopped it? Would Watson have stopped it? Or the league have stopped it? We still don't really know.
It is. It is interesting, too, because everything was pushed out to February, so he, quote unquote, could play this year and then didn't. Why? It is. All right, so kind of connection here between the Cowboys and the Giants. Obviously, Dan Quinn was the main reason, I believe, for the defensive turnaround this year. He's been interviewing with almost every team that has an opening this year. He's a Jersey guy, grew up the Giants fan. Is there any mutual interest there between Quinn and the Giants?
For sure, yeah. Look, I asked around about Quinn. I was told he was very impressive. But let me tell you something, guys. You know how hard it is not to be very impressive in one of these interviews?
Like, you have to be Kellen Moore.
Huh?
You have to be Kellen Moore, apparently.
Yeah, that's like the number one thing I get back when I ask people. It's like, how was he? Oh, he was very impressive. It's like, well, I would hope so. He's been a head coach, right? He's been a head coach. He's one of 5 guys interviewing for your head coaching job. I would hope he didn't come in there and have no idea what he was doing. So yes, he was impressive. He's interested. Obviously, it's a place to come home. They're interested. Obviously, he has something they want, which is experience. They have a first-time GM. They'd love to pair him up with an experienced coach, which Brian Daboll is not, but Brian Flores is, Dan Quinn is, Leslie Frazier is. They'd love to pair him up with somebody who has experience. But that's not the end-all be-all. They had Pat Shurmur 3 years ago. That didn't work out. So, look, you see this like great head of hair I have right here? That's because I get my hair cut at the same barbershop that Dan Quinn's dad used to get his hair cut at. So to me, I think you got to hire him.
There you go.
That's a true insider right there.
Yeah.
Used to get his hair cut out. I said, I hope. Dan Quinn's father passed away. There's a signed picture of him of Dan in the barbershop. That's all I know.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So shifting gears from coaching a little bit to players this past season. So there were a ton of impactful rookies this season. Obviously, we've already mentioned Micah Parsons. ESPN released their top 10 rookies for this year today. So who do you believe was the most impressive rookie this season in the NFL?
Ooh, good question. And I mean, it has to be Parsons and Slater, right? It has to be. I mean, it's hard for me, honestly, to judge one individual offensive lineman. I guess there are reporters who can do that. I think most reporters judge offensive lines as a whole, and then you have to call people around the league who know more than you do and ask them about offensive. I think I'm a pretty good judge of wide receivers and quarterbacks. Right tackles and right guards and stuff, I need help. And everybody I talk to raves about Slater, and you can just see it in Parsons. I mean, obviously, totally dominated games, playing every different position. I think those offense, defense were certainly the two best. And look, if I'm on this show, I'm talking about the Giants. The Giants passed on both of them. I mean, the Giants were sitting there at 11. Yeah, 10, 11. They were sitting there at 11. And they had a list of Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, Patrick Surtain, and J.C. Horn. And those were the four guys they were really, really interested in. And those guys went like 6, 8, 9, 10. So then they traded back, which there's a little bit of like Dave Gettleman, the GM, was, he got beat up year after year. He never trades down. He had never traded down in like 10 drafts in any round as Panthers or Giants GM. And so he finally trades down, and he celebrated for it that day. And then 6 months later, it looks awful. I mean, there's a little, to a Giants fan, I could understand where you would hear and you would say, Jesus Christ, we can't catch a break. We finally do the right thing, and it blows up we passed on Parsons and Slater. So there's a lot of pressure on Joe Schoen to get this number 7 pick that they got from the Bears. They got to get it right. So they have to make Kadarius Toney, who they ended up picking at 20, plus the number 7 pick who they got from the Bears. That guy has to be as good as Slater and Parsons. I'd forget Justin Fields, because if Justin Fields is good or even average, they have a quarterback. The Giants didn't really want a quarterback. I have to take Justin Fields out of the equation. They weren't going to pick him. I know they gave him to the Bears, whatever. The sum of Toney plus the number 7 pick has to be better than Slater and Parsons, and that's a big gap to make up right now.
Yeah, Aidan and I always do the old, it's a pleasure doing business with you as a Cowboys fan and an Eagles fan, making that trade. So the Eagles jump up right in front of the Giants, got who they wanted, and then the Cowboys got who they wanted. It was
hard to believe, honestly, that night covering it. I was like, that can't happen. There's no way that's going to happen. Yeah.
That's literally how we felt too. Yep. Couldn't believe it was with one another.
Look, I mean,
popped up on the screen.
Howie Roseman has his flaws, but Howie Roseman is a heck of a wheeler and dealer.
Yep. He is.
Yeah. Well,
if Howie Roseman called me for a trade, I would be like, okay, thanks, and just hang up, because I don't want any part. I'm losing that trade with Howie Roseman. I'm losing the trade. There's a lot of things if Howie Roseman, if I'm an agent and he wants to pick my receiver, I'm okay, go. He's going to overdraft me. But if he's trading with me, I want no part of it.
None.
You're right. It's just like the perfect strength and weaknesses guy. Just has incredible strengths and just glaring weaknesses, and kind of meets in the middle. But we talked about a little bit impressions of the new GM. What do you think in a very important offseason with 2 first-round picks and in a rebuilding year?
Look, I spent since Friday, my life has been Joe Schoen, basically. I've called his college coach. I called his college teammates. I called his high school coach. I called his dad. I called Jeff Ireland, the former Dolphins GM. I called Dan Henning, the former coordinator for the Jets, the Panthers, a million teams. And I just basically spill your guts to me about Joe Schoen. And seems incredibly smart, which the Giants need. That look, they're so far behind in analytics. They need that. He has a great eye for talent. They need that. The one thing you don't know is, like, Dave Gettleman had a long and distinguished scouting career. And then he became a GM and he couldn't handle it. Like, couldn't handle the communication, the agents, he couldn't amend his beliefs to the other people's beliefs. So the GM is like kind of like a corporate CEO now. And he has to be in the trainer's room. He has to be with agents. It's not just so much as like, it's not being an agent in 1995 where you like go to the Alabama, Georgia game and scout guys and decide who you want to pick. You have to delegate that to somebody else, your scouting director, and you have to do a lot of other things. So that's the one part you don't know, honestly, with any first time GM. But I liked him. He came in. He reminded me of like a sharp businessman, like a Wall Street kind of guy. And no, I liked him. I think he's what they need at this time. So we'll see how it is. Look, he said a lot of things that I don't know, like to put people at ease, like not making wholesale changes. We can win with some of the people we have. We don't have to do a full tear down. Look, there are a lot of people in that building who are very worried about their jobs, as is the case anytime there's a turnover at the top. I think some of that was probably to put them at ease. It'd be hard for me to believe he doesn't see this as a big tear down kind of job.
I will say, Aidan and I and Cowboys fans and Eagles fans and fans all around the country are very upset that Gettleman and Judge are no longer there. We were rooting hard for them to stay.
Having covered both of them, I think it's a little unfair to group them together, honestly. I know Judge gets beat up nationally for that press conference he did. I think Judge had the right ideas. I think Judge could have been a good coach. I think Judge got handed an awful roster, and was told that he would have patience to build it up. And then it disappeared in 2 years. If he was told you only have 2 years, he might have done things very differently. I think Joe Judge got a raw deal. Dave Gettleman got whatever the opposite of the raw. He got a sweetheart. He got a sweetheart deal. He should have been gone 2 years ago. So it's hard for me to group them together.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, that is a good point. All right. Last one from me. We touched on the Bills and just how they've built up, and it felt like this past week, the Chiefs-Bills game, we all felt that was an elite level of play that the rest of us just aren't playing at. So I might know the answer to your question because I know you kind of already said Giants, they suck a little bit. But do you think anybody in the NFC East is anywhere close to hitting that threshold that we saw over the weekend? Not even in Chiefs-Bills, even Bucs-Rams.
But even Bucs-Rams. Well, the Bucs-Rams are in the end. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Cowboys are far away from, like, look, that was an atrocious play call. I mean, it was everybody I know in the NFL says you can't run that play call with less than 14 seconds left. So I have no idea what they were doing. But no, they're not far. I don't think the Cowboys are far away. They have a good quarterback. They have superstars. They need some more depth. And I'll be curious what happens to the defense when Dan Quinn leaves, if it reverts to the form it was 2 years ago. But no, I don't think the Cowboys are far away from the Bucs-Rams level. And then really the NFC is just about getting to the Super Bowl. And then, if you get there, then you take your chances with the AFC. But the AFC is far superior right now because of the quarterback play. No one in the NFC is close to that level.
Not close at all. All right, Ryan, before we get you out of here, let everybody know where they can read all your material, how they can follow you on Twitter, all that good stuff.
Thanks, guys. Yeah. At Ryan Dunleavy. So it's RYDUNLEAVY on Twitter, on Instagram, and obviously the New York Post, nypost.com sports page. Most of our stuff is free to read. And then we have Post Sports Plus, which is our new memberships site. You can do a free trial. And that's where we do, some really good in-depth reporting that takes a little longer than the, daily features and notebooks so many NFL fans enjoy.
Awesome, Ryan. Well, we appreciate it. Thanks for hopping on, and we'll have to have you on again, maybe closer to the draft time.
Yeah, that sounds good. Anytime, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Another absolutely phenomenal interview, Aidan. I hit up Rye on Twitter earlier this week, and I was like, "You want to hop on with us? This might be the perfect time." And bang, another A+ interview.
It was the perfect time considering everything going on, and I loved how blunt he was and honest about the state of the NFC as a whole and the Giants as a whole. It really does put it into perspective what's going on with the QB play in this league and how it's shifted all to one conference right now. So it's a bit of an easier path as it stands for teams like us if we can build this the right way. And he did a good job of depicting that. And we were talking about the stories where he called everybody that the Giants' new GM knew. And I was just like, that is such great journalistic principles.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was talking about Brian Flores and the connection to Deshaun Watson, and then the Giants have the connection of Brian Flores, all of my brain, all I could think of was who is Pepe Sylvia? Who is Pepe Sylvia? I have all this mail for Pepe Sylvia.
Oh, God. It was so true that he brought up as well. Like, what if Rodgers goes to the AFC and Brady retires? Who is the best quarterback in the NFC? And I'm like,
that was a fantastic
it
question.
is. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, it is. Like Kyler Murray, Stafford, and Dak.
I think Jimmy G.
Jimmy
G's time, baby.
I mean, Goff,
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins, who? Taysom Hill,
No
Jameis
idea.
Winston, maybe.
Might be Kenny Pickett by the time we're done.
Hey, we never know. Jalen Hurts could have a phenomenal third season.
Yeah, let's God only can hope.
All right, so we have a TikTok tonight, right? We'll bring Vincent in. He's very into it, as you can see if you're watching on YouTube. And if you are watching on YouTube, tell all your friends and your family to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Birds vs. Boys, on YouTube. If you're not watching and you're listening on one of those beautiful podcast platforms that you can listen to all your podcasts on, flip on over and see our smiling faces every once in a while. Subscribe to our YouTube and see what we look like. Because it's sometimes – you ever listen to radio shows for like a long time and you just like – you
every day
make up what the people look like in your head, and then you Google them, and you're like, that is not what I expected them to look like at all.
That just happened to me. A podcast I listened to, like at the end of the year, I looked them up. I've listened to them the entire football season, and it was a fantasy show. It's like the end of fantasy season. I looked them up to follow them, so I remembered for next year, and I was like, that is not what I thought.
Every time.
Not in a good or bad way, just so it's like just not what I came here.
You make it up in your head what you think they look like.
It happens in books too. Like you read the book, and then you watch the movie, and you're like, wait a second, that's not the character that I formed in my brain.
Hi, Vince.
What's up? Yeah, tell your friends, family, specifically your grandmas, all to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes,
our video is also on Spotify if you want to go watch it there. Just, listen to it however you want to listen to it. Just make sure you listen to it 4 or 5 times a week. Just keep listening.
Yep.
I was going to say, just run it on loop.
Yep. Retweet, like, comment on TikToks, all that good stuff.
And again, specifically your grandmothers. That's important.
Yes.
Very important.
They're big football fans. All right. What's the talking that we're ticking tonight?
Top 3 performers of the divisional round playoffs. Normal triangle, 3 each. We'll do it. At 3, I have Tom Brady. I know they lost, but just that aura that was going on in that second half, we were like, God damn it, this guy's about to do it again. And he still had over 300 yards, and he almost did it. That might have been it. I don't think so. But at 3, I have Tom Brady.
3 for me, it's Gabriel Davis. 4 touchdown receptions in a playoff game. I believe he's the only player ever to do that. Jerry Rice never did that. Randy Moss never did that. Terrell Owens never did that. Just unbelievable. Every time he literally killed a guy with that move, I think, for his 4th touchdown. It was just unbelievably impressive. Gabriel Davis, 3 for me.
3 for me, I have Ryan Tannehill. Not because of not because I guess because everything he did. He secured a loss for his own team, so he helped someone get to the AFC Championship game, which is good for him, or good for someone else. He did a very good job of making sure a team advanced to the AFC Championship game. Which one? It's not important.
Not important. Nope. At 2, I have the Titans defensive line. I figured they might as well win something this weekend since they had 9 sacks. Can't tell if the Bengals defensive line is truly that bad or if they're just that good. Probably the Bengals O-line. But we'll give it to them out of pity because they tried hard and had to deal with Ryan Tannehill for 60 minutes.
2 for me, it's Josh Allen. I know he lost, but the performance was unbelievable. The only thing he did wrong in that entire game was calling tails, not heads. Him not getting to be able to touch the ball in overtime is a war crime. It's terrible. It's awful. He's a tank. He can run people over. He can run over you, and he can throw it 85 yards down the field on a rope. So Josh Allen's performance in a losing effort, unfortunately, 2 for me.
2 for me is Joe Burrow. Just a heads up, Joe Burrow is going to be on every list I do from now on. He's just my favorite football player that's ever graced the earth, and I think he will be forever. He can almost do no wrong. Unless he pulls some Deshaun Watson nonsense, I don't think he could do any wrong in my book.
Love how you added that asterisk at the
Yep.
end. Just in case he's also a serial
Just in
predator.
case.
Just in case. You never know. He seems like a sweet guy, though, so I don't think so.
At 1, I have Cooper Kupp. I want him to be MVP of the league so bad just to see a triple threat wide receiver. I thought it was hilarious that after the season that he had, there were still busted coverages that ended with Cooper Kupp being wide open down the field, including on the game-winning play at the end of the game for the Rams to clinch it over the Bucs. At 1, I have Cooper Kupp, a phenomenal receiving season.
Made no sense at all. 1 for me, it's Patrick Mahomes. The duel with him and Josh Allen were unbelievable. Couldn't put Josh Allen ahead of Patrick because, well, Patrick won. On top of just what he did in the game, if you didn't see the video after he threw the touchdown, he sprinted from the end zone, and the first thing he did was go to find Josh Allen and hug Josh Allen. He left all his teammates on the side, wanted to, I don't want to say congratulate Josh Allen on a great game, but, that's 2 years in a row Allen's sitting there like that, and I'm sure it was hard. And seeing Mahomes actually go right to him to embrace him, meant even more, and that added to the performance for me.
1 for me. I don't think there's any surprise here. It's Evan McPherson. Like you said, kid's nails. Absolutely. How many games does he have to win for this freaking team this year to be talked about as an MVP candidate? Talk about, I just said how Joe Burrow is the best quarterback of all time, but who has won more games for the team than Evan McPherson? I'm sure there's somebody, but you can't tell me anyone off the top of your head, so it doesn't count.
Did you hear the story? Pat McAfee said it this week about McPherson when he was in college at Florida. He had like a 34-yarder, and they had like 4 penalties in a row, and somehow it made it like a 52-yarder. And instead of him being like, damn it, this is going to be tough, he's like, can we get 1 more penalty so we can make this a record?
I remember that game. If I'm remembering correctly, it wasn't like they were playing Idaho to begin the season. It was at Texas A&M that he did that.
I believe so.
Go back and check. He nailed a 50-plus yard field goal at Texas Tech or at Texas A&M on the road to win the game.
And he wanted it to be like 5 more yards back so he could have broke a record.
Yeah.
It's just like the mentality is unbelievable.
Is there just a team of cooler people than the Bengals?
No.
No.
That's crazy. Because is there a less cool city than Cincinnati?
Except for Eli Apple.
He's bringing him down. I didn't realize he was on the Bengals.
I know. Me either.
He doesn't pass the vibe check, as the kids on TikTok would say.
I guess we're going to the AFC Championship game is like an all-time line. It's up there with "Get Me to the Plate, Boys." It's like one of the greatest, maybe one of the greatest sports quotes of all time.
That was a great quote. Just the nonchalance in which it was said. I was like, well,
right.
Anytime you start a sentence with "welp,"
well, big gulps, huh?
Well,
see you later.
If he does that again, what if he did it again? Well, guess we're going to the Super Bowl.
Oh, that would be awesome. Please, Evan. We can't see Jackson Mahomes TikToking in the Super Bowl. Can't have it. Save the world, please. Save me, Evan McPherson. You're my only hope. All right, Vincent.
From Thank
you.
Star War.
Yeah, that was a Star War. One of the Star Wars.
A Star War. One singular Star War.
One Star War. I think that was a phenomenal episode.
I did too. It's always tough when your teams are out when then you got to talk about content. But I think we really found a lot to talk about. We were pretty fired up.
We were. And you were on low battery in your brain.
Oh, my God. Dude, I had a men's league basketball game that started. Tip time was 10 p.m. Like we're playing at the freaking Staples Center. And I had to be up for work at 6:45. So I was coasting on fumes until I got to the show. And then I was ready to roll.
Did you win?
We did. We won by 20.
That's all that matters.
Yep.
That's all that matters. And
I think we won this podcast by 20.
We did. And tell the people how they can follow us, where they can listen, where they can do all that stuff so we can be even bigger winners.
At Birds vs. Boys Pod on Twitter. Please follow us. Last time I checked, I think we're closing in on 1,200 followers. Looking good. We'll have some boosts coming there pretty soon. Please subscribe on YouTube. Comment on the video. Tell us that we look pretty. Like the video if you think we are pretty. And then also follow us on TikTok as well. And then anywhere you can find podcast, Apple, Spotify. Vince has the video on Spotify as well now, which is great. Doing the Lord's work back there in the producer room. So anywhere you can find it, listen, watch, like, all of it.
I think we have the best guest lineup of podcasts besides maybe like Barstool and Pat McAfee. But we have a guests lined up already next week, the week after that. You're not going to want to miss the guest lineup that we have. I don't know, maybe guys from places like PFF, NFL Wire. I don't know. Stuff's happening.
We
That's
are
all you gotta
booked.
say.
We are booked through Super Bowl week
We had to make a Google document
to keep us organized.
with
Which,
interviews.
You
We're
know
like,
it's serious when I don't use the random Post-it note that I stick in my pants.
how about that? So subscribe, listen, rate, do all that stuff. Go follow Philly Fan Life too. Give them a little follow on the Twitter.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
That's all we got to do. All right. Philly's favorite Cowboys fan, Kmess out. Aidan, thank you.
Anytime, my friend. I'm going to go sleep for the next 16 hours.
Chris Hansen here, and I'm going to need you all to take a seat right over there and check out Birds versus Boys.
I think you're completely right here, and I hate it.
Hey, idiots. Stop doing dumb things.
I got 2 phones.
Upset alert. Upset alert. I might go insane.
I think you're already there. There's no hope. Hope is gone.
If this was an AFC North podcast, we'd be done in 15 minutes.
Bob Hope.
I'm going to drink bleach. That
Be
it?
the team you promised me you were going to be this year.
This is the Consciously Hopeful podcast.
I'll be watching.